The following presentation is a replay of an anatomy lesson that I gave live on TikTok today. Hope you enjoy it. We're going to be drawing anatomy and perspective today, and I'll be talking about mostly about the muscles. I thought it might be good to do some back muscles. I know that people are generally quite comfortable with the front muscles. I mean, we can go over that as well, but the back muscles, I think, are much less understood than the front muscles, even at weird angles like this. People very easily understand. So, yes, the idea of today's, not lesson or live, I guess, the idea of today's live is just going to be to talk about the anatomy, the human anatomy, and talk a little about perspective. So, we tend to see a lot of people first starting out drawing this kind of stick figure, but it's always straight on, this idea here. And, you start with this kind of stick figure. I'll just use a marker. Yeah, so, people start with this kind of stick figure, but it's always straight on. And then you learn basic muscle groups, I guess. Always start with the pecs, the neck muscle, sternocleidomastoids, the deltoids here, biceps. And then you got this kind of superhero level six-pack and this anterior serratus, and a little bit of obliques, and we can get into all of these. Here's the quads. I can talk about all of these different muscles. I think it is really important to have, generally speaking, a good sense of human anatomy if you are going to be drawing characters and character design, anything like that. Even if you're a fine artist and you have figures in your paintings or drawings, it can only help you to understand anatomy. But we have something like this. Generally speaking, you get a figure straight on. And then, so what I'm going to do today is teach you how to manipulate this straight on figure so that you can get this angle, like looking at the top down to the feet, and then also from this angle, looking at the feet and then going down like that, and then also talk about different muscles. So I am going to probably miss a lot of the chat, but I will try to remember to look up and comment when I can. Maya, hi, how you doing? User 1983, nice to have you here. You're so cool. Okay, you're streaming again. Nice. Yeah. This is definitely streaming. Stream yesterday is pretty nice. You have a lot of knowledge. Oh, thank you so much. Appreciate that. About different painters. Yeah, today's stream is not about painting or the history of art at all. I'm just going to be basically doing a anatomy lesson and perspective lesson. So, we'll jump right into. I guess we have somewhat of a sketch here. I can talk a little bit if you guys are interested in these front muscles, but I think generally speaking, I want to talk about the muscles of the back, the dorsal muscles. But yeah, we can kind of do some of this as well. Do I have a YouTube? Yeah, I do. My YouTube is same as my TikTok name, Mark Liam Smith. And so that's my YouTube and Patreon and TikTok and Twitter and everything. Mark Liam Smith. Yeah. You're here for 5 minutes. Can I repeat sometime? Yeah, what I can do is I can probably post this on my YouTube channel. So after the fact, because I will be covering quite a lot of information here today, particularly about anatomy, perspective, and things like that. So. This is kind of a weird angle I chose, but that's okay. Hopefully, you get to a point with your anatomy study that you can draw things in strange or unusual angles. But I've kind of fallen into this one inadvertently. Anyway, let's get into this a bit. So I'm not going to touch the head. I've done a lot of tutorials on the head, but starting with this neck muscle. There's a major neck muscle that runs basically from just behind the ears, kind of under the jaw, and attaches just to the front here. And you'll see it. You can actually, you can grab it on both sides. It's quite a chunky muscle, and it starts, it kind of angles down in this direction both ways. And this is the sternocleidomastoid muscle, and that's kind of the major neck muscle that you have to worry about. If you get those two in, and then a little bit of an indication for a neck or Adam's apple, especially in a male, then you're good. So from the sternocleidomastoid, you're going to go, there's huge chest, the biggest chest muscle, the biggest muscle of the torso. All of the front muscles, these are called anterior muscles, but and the largest one is this huge group of muscles called the pectoralis, and that's also called the pecs, kind of colloquially known as the pecs. So, but pectoralis major, there's a pectoralis minor as well that you don't need to draw. It's kind of, but and the pec striates sideways across. And you can put some of these striations in. Bodybuilders are a really great reference because they're so, they have such little fat that you're basically looking at the musculature raw. But there's plenty of photo reference to be had out there. Thank you to everyone who's liking, and that does help share the live. Thank you so much for tapping the screen. Sorry, I'm just going to scroll back to see if I have. Do I read books or visit courses about anatomy? Yeah, one of my degrees is in physiology and anatomy, so I've been able to retain quite a lot of that level. But also just from drawing comic books for so many years, you get curious about how things work and how they fit in with each other, and you just kind of, if you see something enough, you end up retaining it. So yeah, that's kind of a combination of studying formally, but then also just studying informally. Do you think somebody who draws people, you should do this kind of stuff? Yes. Yeah, I think knowledge is never a bad thing. So the shoulder muscles are called the deltoids, and the deltoids, we only have one angle here, but the deltoids, basically you have three muscles. The anterior, medial, and posterior deltoid, so back, front, and middle. And depending on how you're looking at the arm, you're going to see various amounts of this deltoid. But yeah, whoops, sorry about that. I was off camera for a second there. Yeah, so the anterior deltoid, or delt, is facing the front, and that's what you're looking at here. And that articulates directly into the biceps muscle. It's probably the most famous muscle, right? When people say, "Show me your bicep," or "Show me your muscle," that's, you show them your bicep muscle. So that articulates the anterior delt into the bicep. The bicep's actually two muscles. Bi means two. This is the biceps brachii. And then on the back of the arm, working in opposition to the bicep, is the tricep muscle. And the tricep, you actually have three muscles. If you're looking at the arm from behind, you're looking at imagine this is the elbow here. And the tricep kind of goes around the elbow like this. And then, this would be forearm here. So you have these three muscles, and they kind of radiate like this. And then this would be the posterior deltoid muscle, or the back deltoid. And then the muscles of the forearm are quite complicated, and you don't really need to do much with those. But getting into, let's say, hand muscles too. I think hand muscles could be their own. That should be a separate live, just because they're so complicated. Anyway, there's 1, 2, 3 muscles of the tricep. What's bigger, bicep or triceps when drawing? So the bicep is always longer. So like if you draw the arm from the side, let's say here's the elbow, here's the wrist, here's the shoulder. So from the side, the bicep looks basically like this, and the tricep is like this. So the bicep's always skinnier but longer. And that's why, for example, right directly from the back, when you look at the tricep, there's this chunk of exposed, not bone, but there's this area of your back of your arm, right just above your elbow, where there's no muscle, right here. And you can feel that. But I think looking at bodybuilders, photographic documentation of bodybuilders will give you an indication there. But that's generally speaking the orientation that you would want to get from the side with the three deltoid muscles. You can think about delts just like they're one muscle, really, but there are three. And then from there, your bicep, there's a kind of little line here, and tricep. And then the forearm muscle actually goes above the elbow, all the way across. So generally speaking, that's what you're looking at. There are a whole bunch of forearm muscles, actually. But yeah, generally you're looking at that. Art Lover, your understanding wisdom on the human frame is extraordinary. Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, just from drawing comics, I guess you have to try to get it somewhat accurate. But where were we? I just kind of did a little tangent on the arms there. So looking at Yeah, pec. So these are the pecs. You'd say pec, right? That's you don't have to use the full Latin names when you're describing them, but you should probably come across them at some point and know. So pex is pectoralis major. This major means large, minor is small. And then we just talked about the arm, right? So we had this anterior delt. Delt, basically the shoulder, and then bicep. We're looking at the bicep from the front here. And the bicep striates this way. When you're drawing striations of muscles, the striations always travel in the direction of where the muscle is attached. So you have these ligaments, basically. These ligaments here and here, whatever muscle it is, attaches to the ligament, attaches to the bone. And then the striations of the muscle follow the direction of those attachments from one attachment side to the other. And these are bundles. All of these muscles are bundled. And then the idea is that when the muscle contracts, like this, then it's going to basically pull those two bones together, whatever it is, whatever level of contraction you're working with. But just really, I think I don't need to say too much more about that. But anyway, so they'll get the biceps right from the front view here. It gets a little tricky around here. People just tend to think of this whole area as just one kind of muscle group. But so you can call these the abs. And there are 6 here, no matter how much is covering them. Everyone has a 6-pack. Just some 6-packs are less visible than other 6-packs. I know this all too well now. And then just under the 6-pack, all the way to the kind of groin area, there's what some people call the 8-pack, but it's not actually part of this ab structure. You can kind of think about it like it is. I think that's fairly fair. But so this is called the rectus abdominis. And it's a diamond shape. It's like this shape. Okay, whereas the other 6-pack is, you can think about it like it's a rectangle. That's totally fine to think about it like that. Sorry, I'm just going to go back to the chat here and see if I've missed any questions. Thank you so much for the flowers and for the follows, everyone, for the roses. Thanks for sharing, Jessica. Sammy, thanks for the sharing. Tic Tac, nice one. When you draw a body or you use circle and squares? When you draw a body, do you use circle and squares like a lot of people do? I'm not sure. Circle and squares. Are you talking about like stick figures? So when I'm doing a stick figure, I usually do, this is my shorthand figure. So head would be an oval. And then I divide the torso into 2 parts. So I'll kind of get the curvature of the spine, and then the upper torso and the lower torso would be basically the rib cage, and then the pelvic area. And then from there, kind of do these little wireframe to give an idea. But that's and then you can put the muscles on top of that. But that's where the muscle, the anatomy knowledge would come into play. Because without that, you'd probably articulate your muscles incorrectly. The leg muscles. I guess you do need a basic knowledge of both the skeletal anatomy and then also the musculature. But yeah, I do in that sense use circles and squares when I'm drawing different parts of the anatomy. Let me see. I'm just going to catch up on the chat and then I'll get back to some drawing. So apologies for that. For those of you, I do try to draw a lot and talk less because I know that, but I'll just answer a few more questions here. Gentaris, is it necessary to know anatomy if you're a professional artist? No, it's not. It's not even necessary to do figures. You don't have to. You don't have to do people. You could be a landscape artist, and you could be a still life artist. You don't have to draw people at all. And even if you do draw people, they don't have to be anatomically correct. That's the great thing about being a professional artist, and there's no gatekeeping. Now, there's some kinds of art jobs that you would need a vast knowledge of anatomy. Like if you wanted to become a comic book artist, or probably, definitely you would need anatomy. But if you wanted to just be a graphic designer, I think it would help greatly. If you wanted to be a fashion designer, I think that would be a very good idea to know your anatomy. So then you would know how the body moves and how drapery would hang off of certain parts of the body. So yeah, I'd say so. It's information, and information never hurts. You can always learn it and then choose not to use it, right? But no, I don't see why it would hurt. You can learn the muscles in the human body in a couple of weeks of intensive study. And you can learn how to draw them as you're learning them. That's probably the easiest. So then you're putting the knowledge to practice, not just learning all of these weird Latin names, right? So, here we go. Pectoralis major. We had the abdominals here, right beside. So this was the structure of the abs. We had the six. This is the so-called six-pack, and then you had this diamond here, the rectus. And so you're looking at there. And then right beside, you have this kind of strip of muscles on each side. Okay. And these look like abs as well, but they're about half the size of abs. And I forget how many there are, maybe 3 or 4 on each side. And these are the serratus. So serratus anterior, front serratus muscles, and then these kind of dovetail into the external obliques. And so you get these little bumps here. Now the obliques, it's kind of weird because we're looking at this picture from the anterior section, from the front section, but you can actually see some of the back muscle here and here. And this is a back muscle called the lat, or the latissimus dorsi. And you see that, especially in bodybuilders, that the latissimus dorsi is visible from the front section. Okay. We can start with, so the rectus abdominis, let me see, serratus here, and pecs. The quads, I'll probably get into that. Actually, let's not do the quads. We're gonna do the back. That was the original intention. We'll do back, and then we'll do perspective. We'll do maybe like worm's eye view, some of this stuff. Where you see. some of that stuff going on. Let me see. Thank you so much for the rose, Dibijar. What's it like being an artist? Yeah, it's great. I don't use any of this in my actual art. I'm an oil painter, and I sell paintings and photography through different galleries, but I don't use much anatomy in my art. I do still lives and plants and mostly like 17th century Dutch masterworks. What were we doing? Yeah, back. Let's do some back. I'm going to go with maybe a bit of a pencil thing so far. Okay, back muscles. Back muscles are a little trickier than the front. I think we draw the front so much more than the back. But so it's harder to remember all these back muscles. But basically, I think about a V. Let's get the V down, and I think about the spine here. I will tell you all about all of these different muscles, and then there's this kind of reverse into the neck. Shoulder, of course. Delts. Tricep. Here are the lats. I always get, it's a little hard around this area. And these spine muscles. Okay, so we can talk about each of these areas individually. So, with the marker. Thank you, VSK, for the roses. Really appreciate that. Where do you get your pens? I buy all of my art supplies at art supply stores. I'm just outside Toronto in Canada, so mostly I use Staedtler products. I can't really tell by that. Staedtler. So the Mars Lumograph is a really great pencil, and in addition to the Mars Lumograph, the fine liners are good. I also use the Sakura Micron. These are quite good. Both the fine liners, the pigment liners, and the brush pens are really good. The Sakura. So with this, you can go quite thin, or you can change the quality of your line very easily. And yeah, these are great. Archival, and you can lay water on top of them. If you catch them immediately, you can smudge them just a little bit, but yeah, let's talk about this back. Can you draw Hulk's muscle structure? Yeah, the Hulk is the same as regular humans. It's just more compacted. But yeah, for sure I can. By the way, I have links in my bio for all of the supplies that I do use. So if you guys are interested in picking any of that stuff up, you can. So for the major areas of the back, I would say shoulders. Here's one area. These are the delts, or the deltoids. So we're going to break those down into 3 different areas. And then this kind of middle section, these are the traps, or the trapezius muscle. And you have a whole bunch of little guys underneath the shoulder that, yeah, you can probably ignore. There's the teres major we can get in there, and the infraspinatus. So we'll put them in, but you can kind of ignore them. But then, of course, the lats, the latissimus dorsi. And then these little ones that run along the spine, I think you should probably know. So just in terms of, I'll just kind of outline what we're doing here. here. There's this muscle group here, and then I'll show you it on the other side. So remember, this is the back view. So if I draw his head like this, okay? So you have these two large muscle groups. These are called the lats, latissimus dorsi. And they kind of fold into this area down here. You can think about it like I don't know what do bodybuilders call it, the Christmas tree, something along those lines. So it angles like this and kind of fans out. It's almost like back abs in a way. But so these are the erector spinae, I guess they're called, or spinal muscles. They're designed to stabilize your posture, and they're kind of core muscles. And I'm not exactly sure how many there are, so I'm just kind of cheating here. But they are this shape, like this kind of Christmas tree idea, and these end up articulating into this large area here. This is your bum muscles, or your gluteus maximus muscles. Sounds like a Roman emperor, gluteus maximus. These muscles, so these are the erector. So one would be the spinous, and then the plural is spinae. And then, so this is the so-called Christmas tree. And then this is the gluteus maximus here. So this is latissimus dorsi. And then you have this next important shape is here like this. And these are, think about it like it's a heart shape, basically. That's the best way to go. And it's as tall as the traps. Okay, these ones are called rhomboids. And so think about a heart. Rhomboid doesn't mean heart. That's how you can, when you're drawing, when you're trying to remember how to draw a back, you think about the heart and then this Christmas tree. Get the lats there, delts, and then you're basically good. So the neck, you have a diamond shape. Think about the diamond going like this. Okay. And I always forget the name of these ones, but anyway, it's like a diamond. So you have a diamond, and then you have a heart, and then you have this Christmas tree shape. That's probably going to really help you remember the shapes. The traps, yeah, I always think like the traps are this one, but I guess both are traps. Maybe that's why I'm not remembering the name of this one. But okay, so if these are both traps, basically the idea of the traps, they articulate along into the delts, the shoulder muscles here. Like this. And then, but there are two major groups. So I don't know if it's like trapezius majoris and minoris or something like that. I don't know. I'll have to do some more research here. But these are definitely traps. And then this one, could be. Thank you for the suggestion. You're probably right here. And then here we have the deltoid muscle. So this is your shoulder muscle. You have the posterior, the medial, and then you can put a little bit of the anterior delt here if you like. There's three major groups in the shoulder. Posterior means back, and anterior delt. Now underneath or between, not underneath these delts, but between the delts and the lats, you do have some other little muscles here that kind of articulate. I always, I don't always put them in. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. It's up to you. So these ones, these are the delts. These little muscles here are called the teres. So teres major, the big one, and so it's technically back, and then the delt is technically arm. So if I can just show you here, so the delt is technically part of your arm. So here, whereas the teres major is technically part of your back. I think that's fair. The rhomboid's part of the lower traps. Yeah, they kind of fold into each other. So they're basically three muscles here, right? There's this diamond shape, and that's kind of, it could be traps, I'm not sure. But these are definitely traps that are between the neck and the delt. And then the rhomboids they could be part of the trapezius group. Maybe that's a good way of thinking about it. So that, but you should really draw them separately. You should draw because they're quite flat. They don't stretch or change much when you twist the back in your drawings. But yeah, they're probably cousins or part of the same muscle group, because you can draw this overall. You see some artists doing this kind of, here's the back of the head, and so like this, and then they'll go for this look where you get just a little notch here, and then suddenly it's like bam, all the way down to the spine, and then they'll tuck the traps in there, and then the delts, and then immediately into like the tricep. So this whole area is treated like one thing. You do see that. So yeah, you're probably right. Is that the rhomboids and the traps are likely part of the same thing. I'll have to go back and review it. When I'm drawing them, I try to think about them separately, but I do see this quite a lot, where this would be the rhomboid, and then be two other groupings there. So we got the lats. I mean, and there are a bunch of other muscles in here that are a little more complicated. I'm not super sure what's going on there. I'll have to come back to that. But okay, let's leave the back there for now, and I don't know, maybe let's go for perspective. You guys, quick show of hands in the comment section. More anatomy or perspective? You guys are thinking anatomy. Okay. It looks like it's anatomy. So I'll do another live later on. I was thinking about doing some kind of worm's eye and then bird's eye view. But, well, we'll see how we go. Maybe we can do both. So in terms of anatomy, I don't know what's the most valuable here. When you're doing see. So here's the muscles of the back. We have traps here. This was the it's kind of bodybuilder level. And then you have the bum. So the muscles of the bum are divided into the gluteus maximus. That's the major bug. It's actually the largest muscle in your body is this muscle here, and then just above it here is the gluteus, not minor, but not major, not minor. What's the one in the middle? Medius. Yeah. Gluteus medius. So that's on top of the gluteus maximus, like this. And then that just feeds right into these back muscles here, the erector spinae, Christmas tree, and then the traps. You got the rhomboids here. Okay, so you got your bum muscles here, and these wrap around toward the outside of the leg. That's, even though, you do your squats and etc., and there's going to be a big dip here, they do wrap around to the outside of the leg. Like this, it's still gluteus maximus, and then there's another muscle that comes from the front that covers them. So I don't know the individual names of the 4 upper leg muscles, but all 4 together, are called the quadriceps. So you have biceps at the front of the arm, and then you have your triceps, 3 muscles at the back of the arm. Bi is 2, tri is 3, and then quad is 4. So you have 4 muscles at the front of the leg, and they look basically like kind of come around. Let's say this is your kneecap here. There's one like this, and then there's kind of one in the top in the middle, and then this other big guy here, especially on cyclists. It's crazy. And then this one come around. So this would be into the hip. This is your calf muscle, gastrocnemius muscle, little guy on the side. So let's keep continuing with the back of the leg muscles then. Yeah, quads are actually 5 muscles. I believe it. And then also there's so many little muscles in there too. When you see bodybuilders, it's crazy. And then obviously the major muscles have a whole bunch of little ones underneath supporting them. But in terms of drawing at the character design level or comic book level even, you can probably get away with just knowing how to articulate the legs at kind of this level, where you'd see major differences in distance. Like this one back here would be darker. Let's say there's usually a part between these two, and then this one kind of drops back. So you could probably get away with something like that. But yeah, I totally believe you. That there'd be more than just the 4. Oh, you got the real names? Wow. Okay, your knowledge of anatomy is more intense than mine, that's for sure. Thank you, by the way, for the roses, everyone, and for the follows. Really do appreciate that. But yeah, by the way, if you are just joining, Mark Liam Smith is for all of my social media. YouTube, please check out my YouTube channel, mostly drawing content and painting content there too. I also have a Patreon, so if you have $2.50 a month, you get a whole bunch of extra drawing content. You can get for $5 more digital wallpapers, coloring pages, lots and lots of different perks and goodies there too. I just actually dropped on my Patreon a full tutorial on the worm's eye view, and then also the bird's eye view. So you can check those out if you are so inclined. But yeah, so that's it's Mark Liam Smith on Patreon, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, everything. Please do check out my other socials. Yeah, I appreciate that. Let's get back to the back of the legs. So this is a little tricky here. So you have your this was the large muscle, the gluteus maximus. Here. And then a little muscle on top of the gluteus maximus also folds in. Everything kind of folds into this area, the lower back. And I should have done a skeleton. Maybe I'll do skeletal anatomy next. You really do need a decent understanding of the skeletal structure in order to understand why the muscles are where they are, because the muscles are there in order to allow you to keep your skeleton upright, but also to move and articulate your skeleton in certain ways. So if you know what the skeleton looks like, then you can more easily understand why the muscles would work in the ways they work. Here are, so here's the back, we're doing the quads and the backs of the legs. Let's say the knee is here. Okay, here's knee level. Between the bum and the knee, or the gluteus maximus and the knee, you have, think about it like the biceps. So you have the hamstrings. They're basically two muscles. And I think the interior one is larger. So yeah, you can think about it like this, and they kind of attach to the knee. Well, they actually go, if this is the kneecap on this level, they actually go underneath, all the way below the knee, but you won't see that because that'll be covered up with other muscles. So you have this hamstrings, and that's two muscles. And then you're going to see a little bit of this large muscle at the front of you. It's just you're going to see a little bit of that from the back, just because it's so big. And then there's a whole bunch of really complicated ones in here that I don't know and I never really learned, so I always just kind of cheat it by doing that. You can put a shadow there and it makes things... Shadows cover up a lot of mistakes, and whenever you don't know something, you can just put it in darkness. Yeah, something like that. Semitendons, semimembranous. Oh, thank you, Faisal, for the assist there. I appreciate that. Where's the gluteus minimus? I don't know. I don't know where the gluteus minimus is. So I know that the maximus is here, and then you have the medius here, but I don't know where the gluteus minimus is. Can you come on live with me and ask me a few questions? Not this one. We can do lives, collaborate on lives together, but this content and questions and answers will just be, I'll be uploading this onto my YouTube. So I was going to keep that just more to the anatomy at this point. But thanks for the offer. Thank you for the follows. Yeah, thanks for the roses. Bicep femoris. Oh, nice. Thank you. Okay. Yeah, this whole area, how the muscles articulate, is kind of beyond me. I don't really draw the musculature of that area very much at all. So Yeah, I can't really tell you the names of that, but then when you get down to, you know, the feet and the heel and everything like that, you can go to, this is the calf. Let's see it on this side, the calf muscle. This is you have two bones, the bottom half of your leg, one bone up here. This is the femur. So obviously you have just two here, the tibia and the fibula. Think about this muscle group here as being a little flatter on this side and rounder on this side. So, and the shape of this, what we call the calf muscle, will change. Obviously, there's a lot of variation in the calf muscle. Some people have longer, narrower calves. Some people have very short calves. And that depends on, I think, how much how much fast twitch and slow twitch muscles you have of each kind, but I don't know. But anyway, suffice it to say, there's a lot of genetic variation in the length of your calf muscle. This is the gastrocnemius muscle. And just like the hamstring, it's two. It's based in two. And then that just kind of folds into, you don't ever have to worry about these muscles here that hold the leg up, because they won't affect your drawing at all. They don't bend, they don't squish like your other muscles do. And then you're into your heel here, and then foot. That's the tendon there, the Achilles, probably most famous tendon, right? Okay, so probably I'm gonna have to go study how this whole area here works, the back of the knee. I didn't really plan on doing too much of this, but it's so weird when you're drawing. It really exposes your knowledge, or lack thereof, right? So you get to an area and you're like, how do you? Okay. Popliteal fossa, space behind the knee. Wow. Okay, yeah. I have no idea. Minimus lateral, nothing to do with fast slow switch. Okay. Yeah, I always thought it was, because I usually see, the reason why I thought it was fast and slow twitch is because I usually see sprinters and short-term athletes usually have shorter gastrocnemius, whereas more endurance sports like marathon, they usually have longer ones. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'm just trying to see something that's not there. We can do some front anatomy if you want. You want to do front anatomy or worm's eye view? Okay, I'll do a poll for 2 minutes while I have a drink. Is the pen? Yeah, this is a Staedtler pigment liner. This is a 0.1 millimeter, so 1/10 of a millimeter. What's a worm's eye view? So a worm's eye view, if you have somebody standing like this on the ground, imagine a worm looking up at the person. And so when you see the worm's eye view, the person, I actually drew it already. the worm would view a person like this. So it's basically, it's a way to do perspective, so that instead of drawing a person directly from the side like this, you're drawing them like a worm would see them. So the feet are really big and the head's really small, like this. It's just a really hard way of doing perspective. Okay, so it looks like front anatomy is the winner. Let's do some of the major muscle groups. There are a whole bunch of muscles in the front. Let me just go with a pencil here. We actually sort of covered the front anatomy already, but yeah, I can talk about it a little more. So let's see, we got, this is the spine, cervical vertebra, this is a neck vertebra here, and this is into your thoracic vertebra, where these are the ones that all the ribs attached to, and then the back kind of curves. So you have a bunch of S curves here. Okay, so if that's the spine, and then here's your sacrum. You have some vertebrae that are fused all together here. This is a spine. Let's build the musculature off of this spine. Yeah, we can do, sure, we can do another highly muscular person. So we're gonna go with, here's the hips here. Let's say this will be kind of the hip girdle, and then the rib cage. And I always try to visualize it. Let's go slightly off center here. This will be the center line like this. So the person isn't exactly face, but slightly turned that way. Like this. So let's think about the ribs like this. So I don't know if you guys are able to visualize this, but basically you have one cylinder here, and this is for your pelvic region, and then I'm doing another cylinder here. I'm putting the opposite perspective, basically it's like bending like this. And then this will be the center line. So we're using this spine here. Can I start from the pelvis? Yeah. I'll draw down to the pelvic bone, but I can't draw anything lower. The mons pubis, obviously, anything lower than that, and I'll get a community guideline strike, even though it's just an anatomy lesson. So I'll just draw down to the kind of top of the legs. Thank you for the balloons. Really appreciate that. Okay, so we get the spine in there, and then we have these two major cylinders, one for the pelvis and one for the thorax or the rib cage. And then what we're going to do, when you're comfortable with that, then you can start building your anatomy on top of it. So let's go with trying to visualize the neck and let's say spines here. Another cylinder for the neck. How do the shoulders fit in? Well, in something that's in a figure that's really really muscly, what you want to do is use these back muscles, the trapezius muscles. You're actually going to see these muscles from the front. So you're going to see this major, let's put the neck in here. I'll just stop being so tentative and just goes directly to the marker. This is the neck. The muscles you need to worry about with the neck are here along the side, and they kind of go in toward the middle. This is the center line. And on each side, and those are called the sternocleidomastoid muscles, and they connect to the sternum. That's the sternal part of that. And other than that, that's basically your neck. Now from there, you're going to have a trap here. You're going to see it from the front. So it's a little unusual, but you can put that on both sides. So that's actually a back muscle that you're seeing when you look from the front. Thank you so much for the follows, everyone. I don't have the capacity right now to thank you all individually, but I do appreciate the follows and those of you that are tapping the screen. Thank you so much. Sorry, I should put my name up here too. Mark Liam Smith on YouTube. If you get a chance, please do follow me on YouTube, and then if you are comfortable with paying $2.50 a month, check out my Patreon for more exclusive content and so on. Okay, we got the neck here, and then of course we are drawing a male, so the Adam's apple is going to be here. All right, do this little U shape here, and that's kind of your one of your cornerstones. You build a lot of the musculature off of this U. So I'm going to go with big U shape. The pec muscles, you can draw them slightly apart if you like. That's probably more realistic. You see a lot in comic books. The pecs, people will draw the pecs just with one line. Same thing with the abs. But that's, it's up to you. Generally, they probably should be apart. So let's go. This is remember the rib cage. So the pecs are going to go a little bit past halfway, I would say. Pectoralis major. And it's such a large muscle group that you actually have to kind of shape it. Underneath here, you're going to want to give it some level of shading, generally speaking. Make it bigger. Well, we'll see. We'll see how much working out this person does. And then, obviously, this is going to depend on how much fat content people have on their frame, and how much working out they do, and obviously there's a ton of genetic variation as well. But yeah, just like I was showing here, the muscles radiate from that center point, the different striations in the muscle, and then get kind of tucked under this, where the pec meets the deltoid muscle. So think about it just like a big oval like this, but the striations of this muscle are side to side like this, not up and down. So on hypermuscular people and professional bodybuilders, you can actually see some of the striations starting to separate in this area here. It's crazy. It's like a comic book character. And then this is going to go. This is the shoulder. here. And the shoulder is also called the deltoid. Has three muscles. Okay, there's the anterior, that's the front, and then there's the medial and the posterior. The anterior one, the front delt, is I think the smallest. It's not too large, but it kind of tucks in. I think the pec goes underneath it. It's this kind of weird like collision here between the anterior delt and then the medial delt is kind of chunky, and then so the posterior delt you probably wouldn't see. So we're looking at posterior delt going from here to about here, and in this view you can see a little bit of that medial delt. But on the side view of the arm, you can see that anterior and the medial, and then a little bit of the posterior delt like this. Hello, yeah. Thank you so much for being here, everyone. The delt inserts into the deltoid tuberosity. Okay, yeah. So yeah, I'm an artist. I'm not a orthopedic surgeon or anything like that. So there are many people with excellent anatomical knowledge. I know it enough to draw superheroes. I have studied some anatomy in university, but generally speaking, that was a long time ago. So you'll have to. I don't know exactly where all the things articulate. On YouTube or tutorials of your work. Yeah, so on YouTube I have drawing tutorials, painting tutorials, and same thing with Patreon. It's all tutorials. Okay, let me just kind of map this out. And we're going to do another pec on this side. We're going to talk about all of these different muscles in a moment. So we got the anterior, posterior, and that kind of works its way into the bicep. I'm going to draw bicep here. This is a very well-known muscle. This is when people say make a muscle. This is the one you make, the biceps brachii. And then you can see some of the muscle behind, on the back of the arm it's called the triceps, and there's three muscles here, but you can actually see at least one of them from most angles. But when you do draw a tricep, you're going to want you want the idea that the tricep goes in and then back out to the bicep here. So this kind of like in and then back out is what you want to try to convey. So you can do that with shading or a number of other things, but yeah, you're going to see at least one of the heads of the tricep muscle like this, and it's shorter than the bicep. Don't make your tricep muscle too long. That's definitely going to be a problem if you do that. And then the forearm muscle. So here's at the end of the bicep. You might have a little space before you get to the elbow, or the bicep might go all the way to the elbow. You don't know. That's going to come down to genetics and the different muscle heads, but there's usually a little bit of a space there. But the forearm muscle, very interestingly, comes all the way in, well above the elbow, and you're going to have to take my word for it now, and then later on go find some visual references. But it's crazy how high that forearm muscle goes. Like I'd say a third of the way up the bicep. So that's kind of one of the big things that when you're learning basic muscles of the arm, this large forearm muscle, come right up like this. And of course, when this muscle contracts, that's what's going to lift your hand up, your lower arm. It's you can visualize this muscle contracting. If that was short, then it would pull that lever. It would make that lever move the whole way. So you can start to visualize that. So there you go, all the way up there, and then that kind of wraps around. So here's the forearm. Let's say like here's the muscle. Here's the bones like this. Let's say the wrist. All the wrist bones here. And so this forearm muscle will wrap all the way around like this. So let me just and I forget the name of this one. It's like brachio radialis or something like that. But it goes around the radius, the bone here. And then there's another chunky forearm muscle on the inside that you can draw like this. So if you've ever given blood, there's a nice artery that runs here between these two forearm muscles. So that's kind of cool if you're doing like a really close detail. You can remember that artery there. Brachioradialis, nice, thank you. So many people in the comments writing brachioradialis. It's really intimidating now. I should have studied for this live session now that I have so many anatomy people in the chat. Anyway, you can just call it a forearm. I'm slightly intimidated now. Okay, and then there's just like a whole bunch of other, oops, let me draw that off center. I just kind of put some random lines in really when I'm drawing these. So let's say the wrist is here. And there's just a ton of bones here. I don't think I've done any hands yet. I haven't done any hands today. So, okay. So, but this is the big one that you want to remember here. Let's see if I can mark it. So it starts up all the way. Whoops, maybe a lighter marker so I don't come on top of everything. This one here. That's the one you want to try to remember the most, I would say. Let's get back to the torso. We'll go, so here's the bottom of our ribs. Remember these, we have these ribs here. And this sternum. Looks like a face. So for abs, you got some little guys, little muscles underneath, just underneath the pecs like this. But those aren't abs proper. And then you're going to go with the six pack. So of the six pack, the top two abs will definitely be on top of rib. Like the ribs, here's the rib line here. So the top two will be on top of the ribs, and so they tend to stick out. Those would be like the last ones to go. Is this dude natty? I don't think so. Maybe not in this superhero universe. Yeah, it would be pretty hard to be natural. Yeah, thanks everyone for joining in. So, the first two abs, they're on top of the rib cage, and they're going to stick out a little bit more. And then your next two, you can draw a little diamond there. The next two, you can think about these abs like they're squares, but really they're more like octagons, I guess. But these are obviously core muscles. These are stabilizing muscles, and so they tend not to change too much. And then the so-called six-pack. The next two are usually a lot smaller, I would say. Kind of the big ones are already, the top four are the biggest ones, and then they decrease in size, these next two. So that's how I think about the six-pack, and that's how I usually draw the six-pack if the character has a six-pack. And then right at the bottom of the last two is the belly button. So some people are tempted to draw the belly button higher, but it's actually usually at the bottom of the six-pack. But there's still quite a lot of distance to go here to the bottom. And this one is, you can basically draw a diamond. And it's the rectus abdominis. And this is your kind of number 7 and number 8 are here. But, and then that just folds under. So beside the abs, you have these kind of I don't know, way to think about it. It's like a second set of abs on both sides. And these are the serratus, the front serratus or anterior serratus muscles. And then the serratus, you have these oblique muscles that kind of fold into the back here after the serratus muscles. So there's this large muscle that we talked about here, the latissimus dorsi. You can see this muscle from the front. These are the lats here. And so you can imagine a line like this. This whole section of the lat muscle you see from the front side. So that's what you draw. Kind of get that line in there, and then this is all going to be in shadow, but basically this is all back all the way down to here. So just like we saw the tricep muscle here, which is also a posterior muscle. So even though we're drawing anterior muscles here, or front muscles, you can see posterior muscles. So we see the latissimus dorsi, the back muscle. We see the trapezius here and the triceps here. And depending on the angle, you might see some of the posterior delt. But yeah, so that's an important point, I think. Probably, yeah, that's something worth remembering, is that even if you're drawing the front, you have to draw back muscles. So that's why that knowledge of the back is important. I know a lot of people don't want to bother, and they just want to work on the kind of the front muscles, but you do see a lot of the back muscles even from the front. My serratus needs some work. Yeah, they do need some work, and the problem is that like, you're not wrong, but when I'm drawing characters, I would just do something like this for the serratus, right? Just like little indications. It's like you never actually have to articulate them. That's what I would do. So get the serratus and the obliques, maybe just everything's just like that. You don't even have to worry about it. Belly button up there, crotch. And then these kind of hip muscles. Yeah, I don't know. I think I might end it there. Is that a good spot to end it? We've done the back and the front. Could be a good spot to end it. How do you learn anatomy? I learned it in science class. I had a physiology degree, so I had to take actual like anatomy courses. But usually you just draw. If you're drawing comic books, you can figure out a lot of the anatomy just by saying, "Hey, why do all these other artists draw these bumps in certain spots?" And then you can do your research, and you can actually get apps on anatomy too. So, yeah, it all depends on like how much effort you want to put into it, how much time you want to put into it. Yeah, I'm just doodling now, so I think I'm going to end the live stream. I think I've said a lot of it. Let's just go over very quickly. We did a little bit of bottom view, talked about the front muscles somewhat. I went into some of the side arm musculature, and talked about how muscles work in general, how they contract to act as levers here. And then we talked quite a lot about the different muscles of the back, and kind of the back families, like the trapezius family with the rhomboids, the different delts and lats, the rector spinae.